Dr. Ted Landry, the principal of the Woodlands High School, Lance Corporal, United States Marine Corps, 1987 to 1990. While I was in the Marine Corps, I had the distinct honor of being a presidential guard at the White House, Camp David, and Marine Barracks 8th and I in Washington, D.C. It was a fantastic opportunity for a young Marine infantryman like myself. Gave me an opportunity to serve my country, and I'm very fortunate to have done that. Please welcome the Woodlands High School Choir, directed by Patrick Newcomb, with their moving performance of Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA.
And I'm proud to be an American, God bless the USA. God bless the USA. If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife,
I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom,
and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend us till today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
from the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea,
From Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA.
There's a pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend us till today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend us till today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA, the United States of America. God bless the USA.
Good evening, all. Welcome to our Conroe ISD live update. My name is Curtis Null. I'm proud to be your superintendent of schools. Special thanks to the Woodlands High School and the choir for opening up our ceremony tonight. That excerpt was from our Veterans Day ceremony. If you didn't get a chance to see that, it's on this same YouTube channel. You can check it out at any time. It was a wonderful salute to our veterans as we honored them on Veterans Day, and so we hope that you would share that with your friends and neighbors across our state, across the nation, to celebrate our veterans. We start tonight in a different place than we normally would, and I would honestly tell you that I don't have the words tonight really to start us off. Well, I'm not going to go into details because I know we have a lot of different family eyes on our program this evening. If you had a chance to see media last night, you saw that yesterday was the most tragic day possible in Conroe ISD. Hearts are broken. A family is broken. The Conroe ISD family hearts ache for our neighbors. This is a family that has experienced a pain that none of us as parents would want to feel. And there's nothing that we can say or do that can fix that. But I know as a community that cares like we do, we want to acknowledge and let the family and everyone that's hurting know that we love you, and we wish that we could do something to take away the pain, even though we can't. And so I would ask that tonight, before we really get in and talk about the rest of the things that we would normally talk about here in our live sessions, that we would take a moment together as a community and wrap our arms around this family, and in whatever way is appropriate in your house, I would ask that we take a minute here to consider the family in your own way. So if you would just please join me at this time for a moment of silence. Thank you for that, and I just truly believe it makes a difference. So I thank you for your support of the family and of our school district. And there is no easy transition. I don't have the words to properly move us forward, but we'll continue our conversation tonight, and we'll talk through the topics that we need to talk to. But we've talked over and over again about some of the tenets of where we've been since March, and one of those is that kindness and positivity and hope matter. And today those words ring more true than I think they have in any of these previous conversations that we've had. And certainly, I think perspective is a powerful thing as we consider the challenges that we all face through this pandemic and through life. So for all of you out there that are hurting for different reasons, please know that we all, we do feel that, and we support you, and we love you. And as we've talked about through this, flexibility, grace are important, still important. It's important that we're ready to adapt and deal with anything that we have to deal with through this situation. Our two primary goals throughout this school year, as we've transitioned from last school year into summer, we've talked about this over and over again. Protect our school year and protect our community. We've said that repeatedly. That's what we were wanting to do. Every decision that we need to make, we want to protect our school year, make sure that we can find ways to keep school open this year, because we all understand how important it is that we have schools open. Now, that's what we're going to focus on tonight. We're going to talk about what can we do to keep our schools open. How do we do it? We've done so well so far. I think we've proven so much as a community, and how do we continue to do that? And I know sometimes when we send out that email that has this little text blurb that says we're going to do a live event, I can feel the anxiety sometimes raise in the community that you're worried that we're going to share with you something that would be bad news for you, and we're not doing that tonight. We're not going to share bad news about our school year with you tonight. I tried to ease some of those fears last week. I did put out a tweet. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you can. This is a tweet that you could see, and here it is. I did address the rumor last week. There's a lot of rumors out there about we were going to be closed between Thanksgiving break and the winter break due to COVID. That was never true. There was never any conversation about that. So wherever you might have seen that information, I would tell you that now you know that that information channel is not an accurate information channel for you. I do have my Twitter that I post a lot of different pictures and events from around the school district, but like in this situation, it's a little less formal conversation than what we would have, through our official communications with the district. But like in the case of this rumor, it did allow me to get this out there because I wanted to have that tweet out in the public before we sent out the invite for tonight's event, because I didn't want you all to assume that we were coming on tonight to tell you that we were closing schools. So for those of you that have joined us tonight simply to find out the answer to that question because you didn't see the tweet, now you know. We are not closing schools. We are dedicated to doing all that we can to keep schools open, and that is what we're going to talk about tonight. What is it going to take for us to keep schools open? How do we do this? Because it's going to take each and every one of us really digging in to do what we know we can do. And I say we know we can do it because we've proven we can do it. We find ourselves today in a spot very similar to where we were back in the summer, July or so, and we began having conversations in July about, wow, if we don't do some things differently within our community, we may not get to open schools. And immediately we saw what we could do as a community. We saw us following the protocols and doing all the right things, and because we did that, we saw numbers drop. And we're kind of at that point again now where we need to rededicate ourselves to doing all those right things so that we can see numbers drop and we can continue to have our schools open. So that's our goal. Now, if you look in our community, we're seeing positive cases rise very rapidly. Now, there's a few different things to think about with that. Do we have a lot of testing in Montgomery County? Yes, we do. And so will we show more positives than maybe other places that aren't testing as much? Absolutely. But is that the only answer to this question? No, it's not. Because when you talk to our hospitals, what they are seeing is a rapidly increasing hospital population of COVID patients. So I've spoken to a couple of different hospital CEOs this week, and they've told me that in the last couple of weeks, they've seen their COVID patients in their hospitals here in Montgomery County double or triple. And what's concerning about that is they're seeing that in their Montgomery County hospitals, but you think about our hospitals, most of them are in giant systems, right? So you have the Memorial Hermann system or the Houston Methodist system or the St. Luke's system. They have hospitals all across the Houston area. What's alarming is that the other hospitals in the Houston area are not seeing the same kind of increase that our Montgomery County hospitals are. So this is a Montgomery County time to come together now and solve this problem. We're not seeing it as much regionally. So we can do it, okay, but we have to. Now's the time. And so because we see it in the community, we are seeing our cases in schools increase rapidly. So in the last 3 weeks, we've doubled now our number of positive cases in our schools. Now, the one thing that hasn't changed is we're still not seeing positive spread in our buildings for the most part. When we go back and we contact trace, and we have a wonderful team of people that contact trace our positive cases, we're finding out that people are contracting their infection outside of school through different social activities or different places that they're going when they're not in school. That's where they're becoming positive. And then they come to school, and luckily we've been able to keep them from infecting many people at school. But if we have more and more of those positives come into school, I think we can all understand that at some point we're going to start spreading it in the school if we don't bring less infection in. So we have to make decisions, not just at school, but in our personal lives that are going to help us keep school open. And that's inconvenient. It's not fun. You're sick of COVID. I'm sick of COVID. I'm tired of wearing a mask. You're tired of wearing a mask. We all are. We're all ready for this to be over, but we all have to understand that it's not over yet. Okay? There's certainly positive news on the horizon, but we have to get there, and we want to keep schools open throughout this school year, even before we get to that vaccine stage. So it requires us to do all those things appropriately. I will say that I'm super proud of what's going on in our schools. Our students, our teachers, everybody involved is doing a really nice job of following protocol in school, but it's that outside of school that I'm worried about. So continue to do the right things in school, and then let's work on outside of school. Now, one of the things that I do in my own personal life, I do it with my daughter who is in school, is when we're considering an activity, even just going out to eat, or if my daughter is considering going to an activity that's, with friends or school related or whatever it may be, we always ask the question, is this worth it? If that was the event that caused you, in hindsight, when you look back, if that was the event that caused you to either become sick or be exposed so that you're forced to be quarantined and you have to miss 2 weeks of school, when you look back on it, are you going to think, was that worth it or not? And when you look in that perspective, and there's a lot of kids out there today that they don't want to be out of school because they do not like remote learning. There's a lot of families that do not like remote learning. So when you think about what you may do outside, you think, is this worth it if it's going to put me back in remote learning for 2 weeks? When you think about our high school kids, we have a lot of kids that have way too much to lose right now to take a chance to become sick or to become quarantined. We have 4 volleyball teams that are playing tonight in the state playoffs. If any of them were forced to quarantine, they're out of the playoffs. We have football teams that are finishing district play and going to the playoffs. We have band that just finished up their UIL district competition that now is going to move to regionals. We have kids that are preparing for UIL contests and many different aspects, and they can't afford to be at home. So how do we protect that? Well, we talked, I think, 2 or 3 months ago about this idea of if we're coming to school, it's really a social contract that we're all making with each other, right? That we won't come to school sick. We won't send our kids to school sick. We'll understand the quarantine process. If we have to be quarantined, it's because we don't want to spread the infection in the school. And it is a social contract, but it's a partnership, right? It's all of us partnering together to make sure that we can do the right thing and we can stay well. And so what can you do? Well, we have an expert that's going to come talk to us here in just a bit that's going to share the medical side, and I'm excited about that. But making good choices in your personal life is really important. Also, if you want to help us keep schools open, we need substitute teachers and we need bus drivers. So if you are willing and able to serve in one of those roles, I would encourage you to apply. Or if you know somebody that would, because we have to have teachers in the building to allow us to keep our buildings open. So substitute teachers play a huge role. We're so thankful for our subs, but we need more. Presently, we're only filling at about 70% fill rate for our substitute teachers. And you can see that on our dashboard and kind of track that. So we need more subs. Buses are in that same situation. I know many of you are experiencing delays or we're having to combine routes because we are short bus drivers, and we're constantly trying to hire more, but we don't want to be at that point where we have to start canceling routes. But if we reach that, that'll be an answer before we just close school, right? We would have to cancel routes and keep the ones that we could. So that's one thing that you can do. You can think about being a substitute teacher. You can think about being a bus driver. We would appreciate both of those. But further things that you can do is just not make choices that force you into those situations that you yourself could become sick or that you could be forced to quarantine. One positive test may end up quarantining 4, 6, 8, 10 people, right? If you're in a household and one person tests positive, all the siblings are now quarantined. And then who did they have close contact with at school? It goes exponentially. You look at our quarantine numbers; they are certainly increasing, and they're fairly high. That's because we've done what I believe to be a really good job of testing in our community, contact tracing by our staff here in Conroe ISD, and it's proven to be working. There's a reason why we're not seeing spread in our schools, because we're doing all those things correctly. So we just need you to make those right choices. And and when you think about partnerships, it's a partnership between us and you as parents, you out there that are employees. We need you to continue to stay diligent on your protocols. I know you are also tired of all the protocols, but we can't get too comfortable, right? We have to continue to stay strong and stay focused on our protocols. We have other great partners out there in our community that are helping us keep our schools open that we should be appreciative of. And first and foremost, Montgomery County is really been a great partner for us this school year in a lot of different ways. So the first way I'll tell you about is the Montgomery County Hospital District. I think I shared with you before that they have stood up for us a testing protocol that allows us to test our employees that are showing symptoms, and that allows us to get rapid results. And if teachers are sick, then we don't send them back into the school, so we get that infection out of the school. But if they are not infected with COVID, it allows us to get them back to work much sooner than waiting for an isolation period. So without Montgomery County Hospital District's help with testing, I don't believe that we would still be doing as well as we're doing. So we send a special thank you to them. Also, Montgomery County Public Health has been amazing. When you look back to our roadmap to reopening and our process of how did we open the school year, how did we practice those procedures, how did we kind of ease in to make sure that we could be successful, that was all done with guidance from Montgomery County Public Health. Also, when we need to make decisions about quarantines or how do we keep people healthy and make those decisions, Montgomery County Public Health is a phone call away for us, and we're able to have direct conversation with them, where when you look in other counties, that is not the case. It's a special thing that we have here in Montgomery County. And beyond those two agencies, our Commissioner's Court and our County Judge have shown an amazing investment in our school district and in school children throughout the county. You may have read a few weeks ago that our county commissioners had allocated $40 per student of CARES Act money to our school district. That brought in over $2.5 million to Conroe ISD. Well, just this week, they allocated an additional $260 per student to Conroe ISD and all of the school districts in Montgomery County. That brings to us almost $17 million. So what can we do with that money? That is the money that's going to allow us to continue this process that we've started. We'll be able to buy all the PPE and cleaning supplies that we need. We'll be able to hire more custodians to help keep our buildings open. We'll be able to hire more healthcare professionals that can do contact tracing so that we can be a little more agile in that process to make sure that we don't bring infection into the school. We will also be able to hire more healthcare professionals as we look to TEA and the potential of a future testing solution within our school district. So we want to say a very special thank you to our Commissioner's Court, County Judge Keogh, our commissioners, Nowak, Metter, Riley, and Metz. All of our county commissioners have a piece of Conroe ISD, and I want to say a very sincere thank you to our Commissioner's Court, and I hope that you all will do that as well. I think this is the perfect example of government agencies working together to save taxpayer money and to make our community a better place to live. And the leadership from our county leaders has been amazing, and so we're very thankful. Now, when we think back to Montgomery County Public Health, it's a wonderful agency, and there are professionals throughout that agency that give us guidance. But at the very top of that list is a man with a really an interesting title, Montgomery County Public Health Authority. Okay, the Public Health Authority, and we are fortunate to once again show this partnership to have Dr. Charles Sims here with us tonight. I'm going to ask Dr. Sims to join me. I'm going to put my mask on here so that he can join me. Thank you, Dr. Sims. Appreciate you being here. So Dr. Sims is an infectious disease specialist, and he is the Montgomery County Public Health Authority. It means he is the doctor that is basically responsible for keeping us as a county safe. And like many of us around here, he wears a lot of different hats, right? So he's not just a doctor, he's not just the public health authority, but he's also a taxpayer in Conroe ISD, and most importantly, you're a dad of Conroe ISD students as well.
That's correct. I mean, we've been making a lot of decisions over this time period since March through the summer, getting ready for school to start. And some of those decisions have been popular, some have been unpopular, but every decision I've made, I've always said I'm a stakeholder in this because I have two kids who are still in the CISD system. One is at McCullough, one's at the senior high school, and one's a cheerleader, one's a football player. So every decision that's made affects my family just like it affects everyone else's family.
Yeah, and as I've shared with our community before, that's the same boat I live in. When we've made some hard decisions around here, and it affects my household. For me, being a dad of a high school student and also the husband of a teacher, any of those decisions, they make them hard. Well, we've appreciated your guidance along the way, and I think we are one of the largest school districts in the state that are successfully keeping schools open. And you see a lot of data, you've seen a lot. Can you give us an assessment of how we're doing in school? Is it working from your perspective?
Sure, absolutely. I've been extremely pleased with the results, and I think I was talking to other people today, some of the different administrators and different groups, and I said the teachers need to be congratulated. Every teacher in the district has been doing a good job. They've been asked to do things that they're not used to. In addition to wearing masks while teaching, they're cleaning the room in between classes. They're cleaning the room sometimes during classes, which are not things that they're necessarily trained or expected to do, and they're doing that on top of their normal job of teaching. They've all been wearing masks 100% of the time in their classrooms. The staff have been doing the same thing. The staff from the front office staff, the bus drivers, the custodians, the cafeteria workers, all wearing masks and to decrease the spread, and it's been showing. And then the students should be congratulated as well. I know when we started this, people said, oh, I can't go to school with a mask on, but it turns out those kids could, and they've done a very good job. I hear from teachers, I hear from administrators, I hear from other students that it's accepted now. People wear a mask and they don't even think about it. It's just part of the school day, and that by itself, I think, is the thing that has been able to keep the school open. We don't see spread within the schools. We've seen a number of cases in the schools, but it kind of mirrors the statistics we see in the community. So these are community spread cases. We contract trace every case, and as far as I know, there's not been a spread within a classroom, in a standard classroom where 100% of people are masked. We've seen some quarantining in some of our special situations like special education where the kids may not be able to wear masks because of physical or mental limitations. And then in some of the younger kids who are in a group where they're recommended but not required to wear a mask, or required but are younger and struggle with using it 100% of the time. But for the most part, there's not been a case in a structured classroom, and that's that shows that the process works, and it also shows that our staff, students, and teachers are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah,
and I just want to echo that. It's really been something to be proud of. If you look around, I actually read today, just before starting this, the New York City schools closed down today. So they're now closed, the largest school system in the nation. But even in our area, and I won't point to other districts, but there are other districts around us that have had to close schools because they don't follow the exact same protocols that we follow, with everyone wearing masks and following those procedures. So although it's not always popular, it's working, y'all, and that's what we want. We want to keep schools open. That's always been our goal, and so congratulations to you all. And I think it's something you can be proud of, right? You're going to be on Facebook, you're going to be on Twitter, or wherever you're on social media, and you're going to see your friends and neighbors in different places around the state saying, we're closing our schools, we've done this, we've done that, and you're going to be able to say, we're not doing that in Conroe ISD. What we're doing is we're gearing back up so that we make sure our schools stay open. And that's one other thing that you and I share philosophically in common. We both believe schools should be open. Absolutely. Right? I mean, so let there never be a question of, do we think schools shouldn't be open or should we close them? No, we both believe and know the importance of having schools open. And so
I get emails almost daily from some different school districts, from different people in the county asking, what's the threshold for closing the school? Do you think we need to close the school based on that? And the answer is always, that's our last resort. That's not even a topic of a discussion until we've exhausted all of our other measures. And again, if we close a school with the situation we have right now, we're not changing anything,
Right.
because we're not seeing any spread within the schools. Now, those kids will be in situations where they may not be wearing masks, may not be following the same guidelines because they're not in school where someone's helping remind them to wear a mask all the time, and we may see more spread. So that's another thing, you know, we kind of want to talk about is doing those same procedures, not necessarily when you're at school, but when you're at home.
Right.
Just like you're mentioning, if you're going out and going to do a function, is it a function that's worth it? Is it a function where you can go enjoy yourself, but also wear a mask, socially distance, do those, you know, stay outside rather than being inside? All the things that can help you prevent the disease, because as we get more cases in the school, we can have the opportunity for spread. As we get more cases in the school, they have more opportunity for students to pass to other students outside of the school, which is exactly what we're seeing. Initially, we saw some sports teams at the very beginning of school opening have some quarantines because of positive cases, usually due to the teams not wearing masks in the locker room, not wearing masks on team buses, things like that. And again, I kind of skipped over the coaches, but we should congratulate the coaches as well, because that has not been an issue recently. We've not heard of any spread within sports teams after the first couple of weeks, because the coaches have done a good job in making sure that the students are following those guidelines. And I've told the people also ask me about football. It's like, what are you going to do when you have to quarantine the football team? And the football team, that's going to be a big political nightmare.
Right.
And I said, yes, it is going to be if it happens. But to the credit of the coaches, they've been some of the strongest advocates for this, because one, they want the guys to play football. They want to continue doing what they do. And that's part of the coach's mentality, making sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they have been doing a good job. I've witnessed it myself, watching them make sure that the guys are on the sidelines in practice, in the weight room, or wearing their mask, and haven't seen any widespread cases in any of those teams either.
And we've talked about that with our groups, our competing groups. So athletics to band, drill team is, you know, cheerleaders. You're competing now. We're also competing with the virus. Like, you know, you're competing with your opponent that you're scheduled to play, but you're also competing with the virus, because if you don't compete all week long with the virus, you could find yourself quarantined and unable to play. And to, like you said, to their credit, they've really taken that challenge on, and they've done a nice job of it. So, absolutely, congratulations to them. Now, I shared a little bit today about my conversations with a couple of hospital CEOs. Are you seeing that in your hospital? Are you seeing that across the county? Are our numbers of positive tests, is it just because we're testing more, or are we seeing a reflection in hospitals that kind of bear that out as well?
Right. So if you don't have a good data source to go look at, you might consider looking at the School of Public Health, the UT School of Public Health. I believe it's sph.uth.tmc.edu, and then you have to search through. But they have a dashboard, and the dashboard is actually very, very good, and it shows our rates in the state, and you can break it down by county. It shows our positivity rate. It shows a lot of statistics that, and hospitalizations and hospital beds and ventilator uses on there. We are seeing a rise, and although our numbers in Montgomery County actually look pretty good right now, relatively, we had a spike and kind of a wave. We like to talk about waves, but starting kind of at the beginning of October, and that wave crested and is actually coming down right now. So our overall new cases is decreasing, but hospitalizations usually lag about 2 weeks behind, because people get an infection and they feel bad, but as their body starts fighting the virus, their body starts attacking themselves and attacking their lungs, and and that's what puts most people in the hospitals, when their immune system revs up, and that takes 7 to 10 days. So usually after we see the rise in cases, it's 7, 10, 14 days later when we see our rise in hospitalizations, and that's where we are right now. Most of the hospitals are 2 to 3 times the number of patients that they were at the beginning of October.
Okay, and that's something that's concerning, and I will say for us as a school district, and I know you see our data, we have the conversations with you, one of the things that we saw was Halloween hurt us a little bit, homecoming activities hurt us a little bit. You know, some of the, you know, it feels like it's a good idea. We want our kids to have these, these traditional experiences that we have, but then all of a sudden that group event of 25 kids turns into 15 positives, and it's a big problem, and that's what we're trying to avoid, and that's what we don't want.
Yeah, so we did see, I think, in the schools, a lot of positive cases. Did some contact tracing related to parties after non-school sanctioned parties.
Correct,
They
yes.
were just private parties after homecoming in, and we're seeing that now. Luckily, most of the kids are young and they're not going to end up in the hospital, but they could spread it to their adult housemates and friends who can then end up in the hospital about 2 weeks later, and that's kind of where we are right now.
Sure.
And that kind of segues into Thanksgiving coming up.
Right, yeah.
So our next big event will be Thanksgiving. Now, the schools will be closed for the next week, which
Makes me nervous because I know
Yeah.
when they're in school, there's 7 hours a day that they're following all the protocols.
correct. And now
Right.
this is going to be people getting in groups, doing things where they're not necessarily wearing masks. And I want to encourage people, wear those masks when you're out in those groups. I know back in March it was socially kind of weird. I don't think it's socially weird now. I think more people look at you if you're not wearing a mask in a lot of public places. But that's the way we're going to stop the epidemic. We don't have anything new right now that we didn't have in March.
Okay.
There's nothing new. There are some therapeutics out there, mostly for hospital patients. We can talk about those at a different time. There's some things on the horizon, but right now we have nothing that we didn't have in March except masking and social distancing. It's the same tools, and we have to use those tools. We did a good job in July when we really had a big wave in Texas, big wave in Montgomery County, big wave in Houston. That's when really people caught on to the fact that we need to do this. We need to protect each other. We need to wear a mask when we're around other people to keep them from getting the virus. That's waned over the last month, and because of fatigue, and I understand why that happens. But this is a very important time because this is a time where groups of families get together, and it's a holiday that we've celebrated since the beginning of our nation, and it's important. But you need to do it safely. There are safe ways to do it, and we have to try to concentrate on those. If you look at El Paso, which I don't want to talk badly about other cities right now, but they're having a really big spike, and if you look at their statistics and their contact tracing, it's not been people going out to football games and giant outdoor events and things. It's been small family events, barbecues in the backyard, and going to the store not wearing a mask. Those are their two main risk factors, and that accounts for almost 50% of their cases. So we don't want to see that same thing here in Montgomery County, and we unfortunately aren't immune to the virus yet. We don't have enough people immune to the virus to break an epidemic, so we have to do what we can, and that's what we can do: socially distance and wear masks.
Okay. I don't want. I know you can explain this well beyond my ability to comprehend it, but can you give me the very simple explanation of why does the mask work? Like,
Sure.
what does it do?
Sure, the mask works in two ways, and this is, there's been a lot of controversy, and if you look at some of my podcasts that I did back in March, I might have said the exact opposite of what I'm saying now because we've learned some things over this epidemic, but there are good studies now showing the mask works really well in two ways.
Okay.
One is if I have COVID right now, and I might not know I have it because I could be asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. I think I have a little allergy, and I have it, and I'm talking to you. I'm projecting little droplets of containing viruses out of my mouth as I'm talking. And the louder I talk, the more they come out. If I'm singing and yelling or screaming like in a group or a party, I project more of those. But the mask catches them very effectively.
Okay.
Now, I know they showed some videos of people sneezing and stuff comes out, but it decreases the spread significantly, and it's been shown in big clinical trials now to be effective. So that's one way. We've known that for a while. There's actually a newer study out now really showing that the masks do protect you if there are people in this room coughing and sneezing or talking loudly, projecting virus into the air, and you breathe in that air, it filters enough of it that it significantly decreases the transmission. Medical masks are better, absolutely. But medical masks aren't necessarily practical in every situation.
Right.
Medical masks are really used to protect when we have a known COVID patient who is having lots of virus spreading and protect that medical worker. But cloth masks, especially double-layer cloth masks, are very effective for stopping the spread in a school environment, in a house environment, in a close environment. I know a lot of the athletes are wearing single-layer masks because of the issues with breathing, and it helps. And then, again, they tend to be in a wider space, better ventilation. They may be outside where the rate of spread is going to be very low. But any face covering decreases the amount of particles you breathe in or the amount of particles you breathe out.
And how about the face shield versus the mask?
Yeah, so this has been something that I think has confused people. The face shield is mandatory now in the hospital. I've been wearing a face shield every single day while seeing patients for about 4 months now. And that's because in a high-risk situation where there's a patient who has COVID and they're coughing or talking, they can be projecting those particles, and if they do land in a mucous membrane, including the eyes, you can become infected. Face shields don't protect you in any way other than a direct particle coming from me to you.
Okay.
The air that is floating around in here is not filtered by the face shield, so if you breathe in, it can go right around the face shield into your mouth. So face shields can be used, but they're not a substitute for a mask. They're in addition to a mask. It gives you an extra layer of protection. Generally, we're not recommending face shields for most people in the community setting. It's more for people taking care of COVID patients or people maybe working with young kids where they were going to be in close contact. And kids can sneeze in your face, unlike adults who generally don't do that. Or in the special education situation where maybe the kids aren't able to wear a mask, that people are using face shields as an extra level of protection. But generally, it's something that would be not necessarily used for the normal person.
Okay.
But if people feel comfortable using them, it's an extra layer of protection.
Great. That's a good explanation. Thank you. It's something we've talked about that a lot, but it's good to hear the official word. So really what's comforting to hear, and we know this, is we've done what we need to do now. We did it this summer.
Sure.
So we're not in a position that we're hoping that we can do something or we're wishing that we can. We know we can do this, but it's just time to sort of ramp back up. Now we've had a couple of campuses that we've sent letters to say, hey, the numbers are spiking, and that was just kind of this, a little bit of a hoping that we can all wake up as a community. And to be fair, there are our two biggest campuses at Conroe High School and the Woodlands High School, but the numbers are concerning, but we can do it. Like I have all the confidence in the world that we can do it, and we're going to make it happen, and we're going to keep schools open. We know that's going to happen. Now, Doc, I would, if I didn't ask you this and you were here, I would get 50 emails after this tonight saying, why in the world did you not ask about the vaccine? So what can you tell us? What do we know about the vaccine?
Right. So obviously it's been in the news a lot lately because the two main vaccine candidates that are getting close to approval are the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. Both of these have their preliminary data released, and they're 94+% effective, which is pretty good protection. Our general flu vaccine is 80 to 85% effective on a normal year. You can be approved if you're 50% effective, so 90 to 95% is actually very good. That means that if someone's exposed, there's a 95% chance they won't get the virus after they've received that vaccine. The vaccines are going to be released very soon. I wish I had some special secret information to give you tonight, but I don't. In this county, we've already, for several months, had the plan on how we're going to distribute the vaccine, and we're getting infrastructure set up right now to take delivery as soon as it's available. My expectation will be in the next few weeks, we'll know for sure when we're getting our initial shipment. The initial shipment is going to be smaller, and it's going to be distributed mostly to healthcare workers, frontline workers like nurses, ER doctors, paramedics, who are people taking care of COVID patients initially. The next phase, though, very rapidly will be high-risk populations. Those include our elderly, people with special medical problems. There's a list on some of the state websites already of kind of what that group is. And we expect those people, I would assume, by January through March to get through that whole group. Both companies are ramping up their production now that they've been ramping up even before they got this emergency approval. And by March, they expect to have widespread availability of the vaccine to most people. There'll still be a tiered approach based on risk factors, but the hope is by March, April, May, you could go to CVS and get one without a risk factor, just like you go get your flu shot today. Wow. And the government is paying for these, so they will be free of charge, and so no one will have to pay for any of these vaccines. There are some storage issues with the first vaccine. It has to be stored at minus 80 degrees Celsius, which you don't just necessarily have a minus 80 degrees freezer on you in a normal facility, and has to be transported on dry ice. So there's going to be some logistics with getting that out to rural areas, but once the second vaccine comes out, it's just a frozen vaccine, does not require special handling, and so that'll be a little bit easier to distribute more widely.
That's great. And our educators, for our teachers watching tonight, educators are also in kind of that second wave. So we'll have that opportunity, and I've already been in conversations with the county about how, we may be able to make that available to our teachers kind of on the more of the front end as well. Now, both vaccines are two-stage, right? So you have to get two shots?
So the Pfizer vaccine is two-stage,
Okay.
one, and then a second shot about 4 weeks later.
Okay.
So if we get, a million vaccines, that's really only 500,000 people to be treated.
Right.
The Moderna vaccine, preliminary, is a one-shot vaccine.
Oh, okay.
So, and we should, that one's a little bit delayed behind the Pfizer vaccine, but should be readily available by the end of the year.
Do you feel confident that they'll be safe when they're approved?
We have pretty good safety data. I believe on the Moderna vaccine, they had 95 adverse events in the 30,000 people, and the majority were actually in the placebo group, not in the active group. So people are going to have local reactions just from the injection, but the safety data is very good. These vaccines have technology that's been developed over a period of time. These are not fresh vaccines. The target of the vaccine is new, but the vaccine technology is not necessarily new. So we've not really seen significant side effects. I'm planning on getting the first one out of the box that I qualify for. So I'll take the first one.
I didn't want to ask you that question, but I was going to ask him off camera. I'm glad he answered it on camera. So if you're going, I'm going.
Yeah, my patients know I'm a big believer in vaccines, and I push the flu vaccine every year, and obviously this year I'm going to push the COVID vaccine, and I hope there's not a whole lot of pushback, because I think until since March I've been telling you we have a mask and we have social distancing. That's all we have.
Right.
Finally, there will be a tool that we can use, or a weapon we can use to prevent the spread within our community, and that's really what's going to get us back to normal. Treatments don't get us back to normal because they treat people already sick. The goal is to not have people get sick.
Okay. And at what? How long do you think the vaccine needs to be out before we start to get back? Just because the vaccine becomes available in January is not going to mean you're going to tell us we can quit all of our protocols, or what?
Right.
Do we think we're?
Yeah. So that's a little hard to answer, but I wouldn't plan on getting rid of your mask at least till the late spring, early summer.
Okay.
I think that's a good estimate. We'll probably be masking for the rest of the school year, but I think it's pretty safe to say that by next school year, I think we'll have a normal school year.
At this point, that alone, I think we know where we are this year, but that idea that summer can get us closer to normal, and next year looks positive. That's great. So. Anything else that you would add? I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here, and I hope that all of you at home appreciate the fact that he would take time to be here and share with us as a community. But is there anything else that you would share?
No, I just want to applaud the school district, because I know a lot of hard decisions were made in the summertime, and I made recommendations on some of those decisions that I know were not popular, and the school district really has gone to the extent that was necessary to keep the schools open, and I make recommendations, but you all make the decisions, and I think you all have made really good decisions and I don't think we'd have our schools open if those decisions weren't made the way they were in July.
Right. Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. We'll let you exit. I know you're going to have patients lined up to see you in the morning, so we don't want to keep you out late tonight, but thank you so much for being here this evening, and we appreciate all the help you've given us.
All right. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. All right. Really, what an honor it was to have Dr. Sims here. That's that's a gift for us, and I learned a lot. I hope you did as well, just to be able to hear it directly from the authority on the situation. That was really wonderful. So your take-home message, I hope, regarding COVID is we're doing a wonderful job in school. We can do this, right? We're doing great. We're going to keep doing great. Our schools are going to stay open. We're going to do everything that we have to do to keep our schools open and keep everyone that's in our schools safe. And so thank you to the parents, the students, the teachers, everybody, because it is that partnership, right? It takes every one of us to make this happen, and we're doing it. So I want to transition just to a few other things that have gone on in the school district I'd like to share with you. Last night we had a board meeting, and it was a significant board meeting. It was our first board meeting after the election, and we actually have 2 new board members joining us and 2 board members that are leaving. And I want to first by just saying thank you to Mr. Scott Kidd and Mr. John Husbands. These men served our school district with great honor. Mr. Kidd served for 8 years. Mr. Husband served for 16 years, and both of them gave of themselves for our community. I would remind you that your elected school board trustees those are not paid positions. Okay, those are volunteer time, and we take a lot of hours of their life, and their family gives of them to us, and it makes all the difference in the world. And it's because of great board members like Mr. Kidd and Mr. Husbands that we have the second lowest tax rate in the Houston area, that we have high achieving schools. They deserve and earn a lot of that credit that allows to put our teachers in a position to be as great as they are. So thank you to those 2 men for all that they've done. And we had a chance last night to welcome our newest board members. And so we were able to welcome Mrs. Teresa Wagaman and Mrs. Stacy Chase. These are our newest board members, both moms of CISD students. I know that they're going to bring so much to our school board. Both professional women that have expertise that is going to help us as a team of 8. And we consider the school board and myself. And we look forward to the impact that they're going to make. And I know that 8, 16 years down the road, or however long they choose to serve on our school board, we'll be celebrating them for the great impact that they've made, just as we are Mr. Kidd and Mr. Husbands. Now, just a few quick little items here as we look ahead. If you've received a hotspot, a mobile hotspot from your school, and you received it back in the summer, it's time for us to trade those in and get new ones. The data on those older hotspots is actually going to run out on December 1st. We have new ones available, but we need to trade you out. So if you have one of the older ones and your school's been calling and you're not sure why they were calling you because you're at remote and what's going on, they're calling because they want to make that trade for you, and it's a hard deadline. Like, that data's going to turn off on your old device and you're not going to have access. So if you haven't heard from your school and you have an old hotspot, please reach out and we'll be able to make that exchange for you. We want to make sure that we keep you online. Also, just want to remind you, it's not too late to enroll your student. We have still plenty of seats available in pre-K and kindergarten for those families maybe that you were waiting to see, is it going to be safe for my child to go to school? And I hope that you're seeing that, that is a safe and healthy option. Now, we have families that need to choose remote, and we respect that and understand it. But for those of you that want the face-to-face option, hopefully you feel more comfortable. You saw from Dr. Sims, and I've shared with you personally, for me, my child is face-to-face in school. Dr. Sims would tell you his children attend our schools face-to-face. Neither of us would make that choice if we didn't feel it was safe, and the data is proving out that we're not spreading it in our schools. So that option is still there. If you haven't made that choice, you can still do that. Come and enroll your children so that we can get them that great early childhood education that they need, and we want to set them up for success all the way through. And I speak specifically to pre-K and kinder because we know we have a lot of those kids that have not yet enrolled, but that goes for any grade level. Some of you may have made that decision to homeschool earlier this year because you wanted to wait and see how it was going to go, and now is a great window to bring them back. So we welcome everybody back, and we'll get you caught up and get you in all the right spots. Also, just want to continue to encourage you, those of you that are remote learners, continue to be online every day, engage every day, get those attendance credits while also making sure you're doing the work and you're doing quality work. Some of our schools are making adjustments now to the schedule, so we're asking all parents by the first week of December to declare to us where you want to be in January. Are you going to be remote or are you going to be online? We have campuses that are once again trying to shift teachers. As students move, we have to make an adjustment with teachers, and we'd like to have a little extra time to do that so that we can make the best decisions possible. So if you would like to make a change, please contact your school's registrar, make that change, let them know that the change will happen in January so that we can make the best decisions possible for you. Also, we've received good news, since I believe since the last time we talked, that all meals are now free, breakfast and lunch for students all year long. Originally, the guidance was that we would have that ability to do it through December. Now it's all year long for all students. So that, I know for some of you that may not have originally qualified for free and reduced lunch, it's just still a large burden that can be taken off of you that you can take advantage of, and you should, to have the free lunch and breakfast at our schools. Let me see here if we have any questions. Let's see. One of the things that I want to point out, and I think we've said it, but I just want to make the point here looking at the questions, is please don't send your kids to school if they're sick. And I know we think that would go without saying, but it happens every single day, every day. And in addition to don't send them if they're sick, don't send them if they were sick and you went and got a COVID test, but you don't have the results yet. That's happened to us every single day as well, that somebody is at school and then the doctor's office or wherever calls and tells mom and dad that, oh, by the way, that your kid was positive, so the parents come and pick them up. I'm like, oh yeah, he was positive, and they were at school all day. Please don't do that. Keep them at home. This is the best opportunity we've ever had as far as being able to remotely access education at home. We've never had what we have today, so take advantage of that. Please don't send sick kids to school, okay? When kids are sick, keep them home. If they test positive, they're going to be asked to isolate and stay home. And then close contacts, quarantine is different than isolation. So isolation means you're sick or you're presumed to be sick, and so you're put in isolation. Quarantine means you were in close contact with somebody that has tested positive. So one of the factors we're always going to consider in that is, were you wearing a mask or not? And you heard the doctor talk about early on, we had situations where sports teams might have worn their mask all day long, but then they went in the locker room and took them off and sat around and had a team meeting. Well, that's how we end up getting more people sick, and that's how we get more people quarantined. Same thing at lunch. We have to be careful. You're at lunch, you take your mask off. So who are you sitting within 6 feet of at lunch can affect who gets quarantined. So those are things that we do that. Our students in activities continue to wear their mask. You'll see that. I know when I watch my daughter's drill team dance, they're in masks the entire time they're in the stands. They're in masks while they dance. We do have some team activities that they'll wear masks right up into the activity, and they'll pull them down for their activity, and then they put them back. Marching band's a perfect example. At some point, you do have to lower your mask to play, but then they wear them at all other times. They wear them as they're in transportation on a bus. Even our athletes on the court or on the field, you notice a lot of volleyball teams wearing either gaiters or masks as they play in many cases as well. And all of that, like we talked about before, is just about competing, right? Because if you do have that mask off and somebody does turn up positive, then that team gets quarantined and it takes away your opportunity to compete. So it's the more you wear it, the more opportunity you have to continue on and doing what you need to do. So that's great. Now let's see. I don't think I see many more questions here. This is a special time of year, and as Doc mentioned here before, we've celebrated Thanksgiving, throughout our entire nation's history, and we have so much to be thankful for here. I hope that you take this opportunity in this time of year to be extra intentional about saying thank you to those that make a difference in your life, to the teachers, to your family members, to the people in the community. I certainly hope that, given not only what we've experienced in our school district, but this time of the year, that we hug a little tighter and a little longer with our family. Know that we are thankful as a school district that we get an opportunity to serve you. We take pride in being one of the greatest school districts in the state of Texas, but we get to carry that mantle because we get to hold a mirror up to this wonderful community. We are a reflection of you, and we're thankful for the differences that you make within our schools, for the wonderful children that you send us every day, and the opportunity that you give us to have an impact on your children's life and your family's life and to make a difference in this community. So please know that as you celebrate your Thanksgiving week, we wish you a very safe Thanksgiving. Hopefully you can find ways to enjoy your family safely and do it without there being a COVID risk, but we know that there is that importance of having that familial bond, and it does make a difference. So know we're thankful for you. Wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, and we'll look forward to wrapping up this first semester very successfully and keeping our schools open for the rest of this semester and the rest of the year. Thank you all very much.